Reddit communities are going dark tomorrow in protest of Reddit's new pricing policy.
Reddit is going through some significant controversial changes that have caused thousands of subreddits to go dark in protest of the company's updated policies in regards to its business model. This caused a brief outage as well. In addition, Reddit hackers who gained confidential data from a phishing campaign back in February want $4.5 million in ransom money and for the company to revert back to the original pricing policy or force a leakage. In the spring, Reddit announced that it would begin charging developers for access to its content via its API. For those of you that don't know, API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a type of software that allows two or more apps to talk to each other. For example, the weather app on your phone communicates with the Weather Bureau's software system to be able to show you weather updates on your phone. Or in Reddit's case, it has many third-party apps that leverage its API for their own Reddit client apps. The most popular one is Apollo. More on this in just a moment. Reddit will begin charging developers 24 cents per 1,000 API calls. Now, this doesn't sound like much, but if you look at the Reddit client Apollo, they did 7 billion API requests in April. With the new pricing policy, this means Apollo will be on the hook to pay $1.7 million for the month or $20 million for a year. This is very costly, in which the developer of Apollo, Christian Selig, announced on Reddit that it would have to shut down on June 30th because of it. It's not just Apollo, other Reddit clients are shutting down too. But why is the company enforcing these new policies? And why isn't Reddit's CEO Steve Huffman backing down amidst all the backlash and protests? To answer these questions, we first have to look at the history of the company and then understand its current state of the world. Reddit was founded in 2005 by University of Virginia roommates Steve Huffman and Alexis Ohanian as a platform for sharing information and discussing topics. In 2006, just a year after launching, the company was acquired by Condé Nast Publications, a subsidiary of Advanced Publications, for $10 million. Reddit continued to operate independently with its own dedicated team in which the founders also continued to work at the company. It wasn't until 2008 that Reddit introduced subreddits, which allowed users to create and moderate their own communities around specific interests. This fueled Reddit's growth and led to the creation of many of the site's most popular communities. Then, in 2011, Reddit became operational independent of Condé Nast, and in 2012, it was spun out as an independent subsidiary of Advanced Publications. This is very important as it means Reddit is essentially now an independent private company. It would go through many leadership changes and multiple rounds of fundraising to keep the lights on, all of which ballooned the company's valuation to be a multi-billion-dollar company. Reddit makes its money through advertisements and its premium subscription service, but the majority is through ads, which generated over $424 million in ad revenue in 2022. Back in December 2021, Reddit confidentially filed for IPO. This came at a time when ad spending was high and internet companies were seeing exponential growth due to the pandemic. However, things started to fall in 2022 and the economy took a downturn. Facing repercussions from overhiring and overspending the previous year, companies had mass layoffs and had to cut back on spending. This meant less ad spending, which affected social media companies like Reddit, Snap, and Meta. Then came the rise of AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. These companies used Reddit's rich trove of human conversations to train their large language models for free. So, as a business, Reddit is facing immense pressure to reduce costs and get to profitability as it's on the verge of going public. Reddit's solution, charging for its API service, which again would be 24 cents per 1,000 API requests. Steve Huffman, the CEO, his gripe is that some of these apps make millions every year using Reddit's data, and the company has to bear the infrastructure costs of tens of millions of dollars every year. He said that Reddit's API was never designed to support third-party apps. They just let it exist for the longest time. But now, realizing that companies like OpenAI, Google, and Apollo were profiting off of their data, he needed to enforce some new changes if his company was going to become profitable and have a successful IPO. Reddit has long been bolstered and operated by a network of unpaid moderators who keep subreddits safe and healthy. Its users also really love the platform due to its focus on niche communities. Redditors invest time and care into their specific communities and are quick to protect them from outside invasion. This new API fee has become the tipping point for power users, many of which are worried that the company is prioritizing its business over the community. The changes to the platform stand to ruin the very thing that made it good. In addition to Reddit's updated pricing policy, the company also laid off 5% of its workforce early in June and will reduce the number of planned hires for the rest of the year. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, lots of changes. Ultimately, if you're building a community, it's the people in the community that matter most. In Reddit's case, Reddit needs Redditors more than Redditors need Reddit. With the company's new direction to focus more on its business than its community, Redditors can simply flock to another platform if forced to. So, is this the end of Reddit, or just a big road bump for the company? I think these pricing decisions make a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, Reddit is a business and businesses need to make money. In a venture-backed company like Reddit, you can live off of VC money for a while, but at some point, you need to be practical and generate enough revenue to be a self-sustaining business and prompt a good return on investment for your investors. However, I think Reddit could have done a better job of executing and voicing this to its community. Reddit barely gave enough time for developers to work with these new changes. It was just given an abrupt 30-day notice of the new price. Also, the fact that Steve Huffman isn't seemingly willing to do enough or even work with developers and his community on some sort of transition period is disappointing. He's even forcibly removed big moderators over the not so safe for work protests. Once you break trust with your users, it's hard to gain them back. So, only time will tell how these changes will affect the future of Reddit. That's the end of the video. I'm Lauren from Darkman Digest, where I talk about the most exciting insights in the tech industry. So if you enjoy this content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.